Welcome to our latest webcast. Today we are talking to a new tour operator, and specifically the founders of the new tour operator, which is called Untold Story. So today we've got Mark Alvey, who's the co-founder and CEO, and Chris Brunning, who's also the co-founder and managing director. And both Mark and Chris have got long history in the travel industry. So Mark spent more than 30 years in the luxury hotel sector, operating in senior roles at One and Only Resorts, Oberoi and Roccoforte hotels. He's lived all over Asia, North America, and travelled across India and the Indian Ocean with Oberoi. And Chris similarly has worked in the industry for a long time. He worked in planning and overseas expeditions at World Challenge, and he was part of the TUI group before he spent 5 years at Brown and Hudson as head of product creation and key client relationships. So welcome, Mark and Chris. How are you doing?
Thank you, Laura. Morning. Yeah, very good. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, doing well. Thanks, Laura.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. I thought it would be really interesting to speak to you. Obviously, it's always exciting when a new brand, a new tour operator is launched into the market, but particularly at a time like this. So tell us a little bit about the brand, first of all, and what made you decide to launch it, and kind of what makes it different to other brands out there.
Sure. Okay. Well, if I could kick off, if that's okay. I think, to be honest, even before COVID-19, we were all aware of. And I think the main reason for us setting up the business was because I think for some time we'd recognized that there was a significant shift, particularly with wealthy travelers, between that sort of consumption of luxury goods to the consumption of luxury experiences. And we didn't really feel anybody was addressing experiential travel within the travel sector as well as it perhaps could be. And that was the main basis for setting up the business, is that we felt that there were a growing number of travelers that at least once a year wanted more than a beach holiday. They wanted trips that were life-enhancing, maybe even life-changing. And through the sort of insider access we have to people and places around the world, we can provide a much sort of deeper connection to the destinations that they were traveling to. So that's what we based the business around sort of experiential type travel. And I think that's what has allowed us to come in at this time with something slightly different that complements and enhances product that's already out there.
Okay. And I mean, experiential it does seem to be a trendy word at the moment. You hear it everywhere. So tell us what makes your tours and your destinations truly experiential, or more experiential than what else is out there.
Shall I take that one, Mark, to begin with?
If you want to start and I'll finish, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. I agree that it's definitely an overused term, Laura, for sure. And we like to feel like we're, truly at the experiential end of the scale. So neither of us has really worked in the sort of mainstream, travel industry in inverted commas. So we have that background and that experience and, that black book of contacts that we've both developed over the years. So for us, it's really about insider access, and that's access to interesting people and places. And a lot of our our contacts and our stories and our experiences, they're things that aren't even necessarily linked to travel at all. There might be particular interesting characters in country that we may have met during our travels several years ago, and we feel that they can add value to a client's experience. So because of the scale that we're at, we're a very small team, we have that kind of nimbleness and that flexibility to really, a lot of tour operators, I think, say that they're bespoke, but what you'll find is a very, when you drill down, quite a cut and paste approach. But because of our scale and our kind of nimbleness, we're able to really kind of drill down and, offer a truly bespoke service, I think.
And I think just to add to that, Laura, that yes, of course, we do use boutique DMCs, but not exclusively. So I think what gives us the edge is that Chris and I have, over the years, combined a sort of black book of influencers, connectors, sort of movers and shakers, really, that look at a destination with fresh eyes and in a completely different way. So whether that's, I don't know, you might want to have, meet a group of music influencers in Cuba, or learn how to free dive off the Mexican coast with a free dive sort of champion, or simply just find the best possible villa in Tuscany, then, it's these sort of unique experiences. So it can be anything from, I mean, we've done the extremes of heated tents on a glacier under the Northern Lights in Iceland, where we've flown in DJs from Reykjavik. But on the flip side of that, we've been able to just open the Guggenheim Museum, before the public, because the clients wanted to get in there before anyone else. So, experiences doesn't have to be extreme all the time. It's just doing something that's unique and different. And I suppose, as we've named the company, it's the ability to storytell when you get home about doing something that was really different. It's not just about unique destinations, it's normal mainstream destinations, but finding things really unique and experiential within those destinations.
And that's your network of storytellers that you referred to. So they're the people that really bring the travel experiences alive.
That's exactly right, and it is tapping into that black book. And these are not just random people; these are people that are trusted, that we know and we've worked with over the years. And I think also, it's all very well to have someone who has that kind of experience, but they've got to have the character and the confidence and the knowledge to deliver that story in a exciting way. So there's a lot of criteria that we look for in a partner overseas beyond the DMC, that can really give our clients and the clients of our travel trade, which I know we'll come on to, a truly unique experience.
Okay, and we've talked about, it's bespoke, but it is still luxury, isn't it? I mean, luxury has changed as a term, like you say. It doesn't just mean 5-star hotels; it means experience. But would you say that Untold Story still sits firmly in that luxury market in the traditional sense as well?
Chris, I'll let you answer this, but just to preempt, I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, you're right. Luxury isn't just about 5-star luxury, although of course we have clients that still want that kind of luxury. But for us, luxury can mean all sorts of things, and really the luxury is what is in the mind of the client rather than our perception of it. But for example, we've had clients that we just booked to go and see the total eclipse of the sun in Patagonia in a tented camp. Now, for them, the luxury there is space, it's quality time with their family. So yes, I mean, luxury can mean different things to different people, and it's really important that we're not just seen as 5-star luxury, that we see more as adventure and excitement, but doing it in a comfortable way.
Okay. Did you want to add?
Yeah, and I think just one other sort of point to add there, Laura, is really an important aspect for us, or really key aspect for us, is getting to know our clients. So whether that's a direct client or the client of our travel trade partners, is really kind of gathering as much intelligence and information as possible, so that we can really understand their needs, and then we can say, well, actually, we think that your definition of luxury is that sort of top suite in this 5-star hotel, or in fact it is rafting down the Colorado River and having a bespoke camp set up with an astronomer each evening. And we can sort of gauge just how where their definition lies. And with a lot of our clients, they are they're repeat bookers with us, so they are loyal to us and they keep coming back to us, so we can continue to sort of learn from their experiences, understand their needs. And it might be that for one of their trips, they'll plot out their sort of travel plan over the course of a year, and that might involve a week in a 5-star hotel in the Maldives, and then it also might involve an amazing sort of father-son wilderness experience. And I think there's room for each end of the scale.
Okay, well, that takes us neatly on to my next question, which obviously is about travel agents and how you plan to work with them. You've said already to me before this interview that you're excited to work with the trade. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you plan to connect with agents and how you plan to train them about your product, for instance?
Absolutely. I mean, we see travel agents as a really important part of our distribution network. I think travel agents, as we all know, need support now more than ever. and they need support in focusing on trying to generate business now, whether that's the festive period or into 2021. But how do they start generating bookings now for the future? And we believe that the support that we can give them and the products that we can offer to our travel agent partners, and we can offer those products on a white label basis as well. So when they present it to the client, it's their proposal, not ours. But I think that, if agents looked at our website and saw the kinds of products that we can offer, then I hope many would realize that what we offer enhances what they're already offering to their clients. And I think I read in Lauren, your last April edition about the importance of taking that client on a journey, and almost like an armchair journey, and visualizing the holidays to come. And I think what might be helpful to agents is to look at the pre-made itineraries that we have on the website and to pull out selected number of trips, whether that is a trip to Cuba or something more local in Europe. And then we can white label those proposals and allow them to send them out as just thought-provoking ideas. And I do think that in the first phase of the travel return, it may be more local than long haul. I mean, it's just only my feeling from the people and clients we've spoken to, that people may want to go back to a destination they've been to before because there's confidence, there's familiarity, there's reassurance. And it may only be, 2 to 3 hour flight as part of phase one, and that long haul might look at as sort of phase two into 2021. But we have so many great European trips, for example, that we can offer on a white label basis to agents to provoke and to stimulate travel and bookings. And I think on top of that, to give the clients of these agents the confidence to book, we have a promotion out right now, which is effectively we'll give 100% refund back to the clients up to 60 days prior to their departure, even if they're traveling next year, if they make a booking between now and the end of July. So what we're hoping is that mitigates any concern about, will we get our money back? That money sits in an escrow account, and it sits there until either they book or they want to change their mind. So we're doing as much as we can to introduce ourselves to the travel agency community in a helpful way, and just being sensitive to the situation that we're all in. And yes, of course, we want to, we're looking now at hiring a travel trade sales manager that can roll out fam trips and product knowledge and education. But I think in the interim, if anyone has any questions or they want assistance, they can come to Chris and I directly.
Okay, fantastic. And how many are on the team at Untold Story at the moment, just out of interest?
Well, there's 6 of us at the moment, so we're not huge. Right now, of course, that's about the right number, because when we start to get busy again and we start getting proposals in, then we'll start to grow that team. But 6 is about right for us right now. But the 7th person that comes in will be a dedicated travel trade person.
Okay, fantastic. It's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you about a couple of the concepts that I read in the initial press release that you sent out that I found interesting, that you'd kind of zoned in on. And one of them was slow travel, which is something that we've written a little about as well. Could you tell us what slow travel means to you, and why you've introduced that as a concept to your tours?
Yeah, well, we were sort of thinking, Laura, about what the sort of post-COVID travel landscape might look like, and one of the things that sort of occurred to me is that this idea of sort of slowing down, thinking more locally, engaging more with local people, local businesses, rather than this idea of sort of rushing around, trying to tick off as many sites and places as you can. To me, the idea of slow travel is all about immersing yourself in a destination, whatever your definition of that is, but really spending time to get to know the people, the gastronomy, the physical landscape, the cultural landscape, etc., etc. And let's face it, people have such manic, daily lives at the moment, and it's sort of non-stop. So we find that with our clients, when they travel, they want the polar opposite of that. So they really want to kind of to slow down, to reset the clock, and to actually, that's what travel is all about to me. It's about sort of, having a very different experience to your lived experience in your day-to-day life, and sort of, being able to rejuvenate in that sense. So that's what it means to me. It's really sort of slowing down, flipping your daily routine on its head, and really immersing yourself in a destination.
Okay, and I guess sustainability feeds into that idea of slow travel as well. Could you tell me a little bit more about your sustainability policy at Untold Stories?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing that we've seen from this whole sort of lockdown process is, I've certainly experienced it myself personally, is this sort of this increased kind of willingness to support local businesses, rather than sort of big international brands. And I think that, that's something that we look to transmit in our travel as well. So particularly when it comes to slow travel, really supporting small local businesses, whether that's, a little boutique vineyard in Tuscany, or, a boutique hotel, or a local artist, whoever that might be. So we're actively trying to support local economies. Of course, there's a very thorough vetting process when it comes to the suppliers that we work with in terms of sustainability. So, ensuring that there's no overuse of single-use plastics, using electric vehicles where possible, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, that's a little bit more challenging in certain destinations than others, but it is improving all the time. And I think another really key element that we're seeing, even before this situation arose, is people wanting to tangibly give back during the course of their travel. So whether that's engaging even just for a day or so in a community project where they can go and help in a local community, or it might be more of a conservation initiative depending on the destination. That's something that we actively look to encourage as well, and obviously as we continue to grow, then we'll roll out a more sort of comprehensive sustainability policy over time.
Okay, sure. Did you want to add to that, Mark?
No, I think Chris summed that up quite well. I mean, a lot of our trips are about giving back, and we it sounds like a line, but what we try to do is to book holidays not just on where people want to go, but try and create experiences around how people want to feel. And I think the travel is a very emotive thing, and I think that's lost in a lot of the sort of day-to-day transactions of buying a holiday. And part of those emotions are people want to give back. And people are very conscious of sustainability, so that's always within the DNA of what we do. And those clients that do want to have something that is more focused on giving back, again, I keep referring back to the website, but there are a number of different trips under Give Back, and that will be I suppose a growing part of what we want to do more and more.
And I guess as well, when you say on Untold Stories, are you also focusing on or lesser known places? Because obviously there's a balance, isn't there, with you can send people to smaller places, but then perhaps you have a risk of overwhelming those smaller places, but then you don't want to send everyone to the place that everyone goes to, because then you have the risk of over tourism. So have you tried to sort of balance that out as well with your tours?
Yeah, very much so. I think, again, just to go back to sort of our scale, we're very much in the zone of very low volume, very high end trips. So we're not sort of sending huge swathes of clients to any particular part of the world. So and also we don't sort of promote particular destinations for commercial reasons. It'll always be we'll always start with a very detailed call with a client, so we can really drill down into what they're looking for, and then we'll propose something on that basis. So it's always very much with their needs and their aims in mind. But yeah, it's a valid point, and but I don't think there's any particular destination that we send clients to in very high volumes.
Yeah, and one of the other concepts that I saw in the original press release you sent out that was quite interesting was you focused in on blue zone travel, which I'll let one of you explain about that. Could you just tell us a little bit more about why you honed in on that?
Yeah, so it's certainly not something we can take credit for in terms of the initial concept. It's I'm not sure if you're how familiar you are with it, but Mark and I sat down to a lecture, I think a year or so ago, with a guy called Dan Buettner, a really fascinating guy, and he was actually in charge of undertaking the research for National Geographic into these global blue zones, which are different sort of pinpoints on the globe where, you know, life expectancy is higher, and, you know, they're sort of seen as, you know, very aspirational places to live. And we thought, well, you know, how can we adapt that to travel? And we're always thinking about our clients and, you know, what might appeal to them. They tend to be very sort of, you know, well-traveled, very pioneering people in their own field. So we felt that this would be, you know, of particular interest to, you know, a certain section of our clients. And, you know, we feel like it's a perfect kind of match for, you know, for travel. So, you know, some of the destinations in there, you've got, you know, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica and those sorts of places, you know, small islands in the Aegean, and, you know, just fit really perfectly for, you know, offering our brand of travel, I think.
Okay. So
And the nice thing about that trip, is that, you know, the idea is they can learn in terms of longevity and lifestyle, and these are things they can adapt when they come home back into their normal lifestyle. So there's a sort of, I suppose, an educational element to it as well.
sure. Well, I was just about to say, actually, education. It seems like that is part of your tours. It's a very large part of it.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, in varying degrees, and obviously, again, it all depends on what the client is looking for. But with our backgrounds, I mean, I have a background in sort of educational expeditions, so I guess it comes through there to a degree. You know, there's always that opportunity. You know, often what we'll do with clients is, you know, even when we propose an itinerary, we'll give them several options, and we'll think about, you know, what they've told us, and, you know, we'll try and sort of plant ideas there for them and say, look, actually, have you thought of this? And often, you know, we'll propose ideas to them that they haven't even thought of, or they didn't even know were possible. And, you know, education is definitely, it's something that I think, especially families traveling, they're, you know, looking nowadays to leave a bit of a legacy for their kids. You know, it's not just about going and lying on a beach for a week. It's, you know, how can we kind of maximize this experience and leave a legacy that we can take, you know, and apply back to our daily lives as well.
Okay, sure. And I mean, obviously, we've touched on the fact that the coronavirus crisis is happening right now, and that you've obviously, you're launching in the midst of it. How do you think that COVID-19 is going to change travel? Everyone's talking about their predictions for the future, and obviously nobody really knows, but how do you think it will change the landscape of travel?
Well, I think, as we touched on earlier, I don't think there's any magic switch that suddenly one day travel is back on. I think it's going to take a lot of time. I think it'll come back in phases, as I sort of alluded to earlier. I think there'll be a pent-up desire to travel. I think we could get to a point where there's greater demand than supply, but I think it'll be cautious. I think people will think definitely about why they want to travel, and what their expectations are when they travel. And what I mean by that is, I think people will will focus on hygiene, on safety, on where they are in terms of location, if they need assistance. And as I touched on earlier, I think that people will perhaps look at areas of familiarity before they sort of go on to more adventurous places. And I think, you know, we're beginning to see interest in villas and small boutique hotels. I'm not saying that will impact the bigger hotels, but I think cautiously people may think about a cottage or a villa, or, you know, a suite within a hotel before they think about going back to a 250, 300 key property. I just think there's phases that we'll experience as people start to gain confidence.
Sure.
Yeah, and I just to add to that, I think, you know, once we get past that initial phase and go into the longer term, I think that one impact this might have is people that, you know, have been thinking about that, you know, once in a lifetime, in inverted commas, bucket list type experience. Will, you know, we might see sort of a rise in those types of requests. So, you know, not sort of, again, very low volume, but I think people will less be sort of looking to put those off, but there'll be, I think this period that we've just been through, this period of lockdown that we're experiencing at the moment is sort of going to refocus people to think, actually, do you know what, we need to get out, once it's safe, we need to get out there and do these things now. So I do think that when it's safe to do so, we'll see an increase in those types of requests for those really sort of out there, adventurous, once in a lifetime sort of experiences.
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, Laura. I think you're right, and I think that people. One thing this has come to light is that people realize that life is short, and that it's not always about saving up for a rainy day. A lot of people forget the pension. Let's just go and live our lives. And I think there'll be people that will want to celebrate, people that will want to reconnect, reunite. I think there'll be a lot more multi-generational type travel. Just people just with the relief that it's over and they can start traveling again, and can rejoice about life. And I think that's a large part of what travel will be, as phase one.
Oh, well, that sounds great to me. Yeah, I think everyone feels the same. Do you think that people will be wanting to go for sort of one big holiday though, or do you think it's going to go back to people, in the last few years, certainly people have been going on more and more short trips, really, haven't they? So like a mixture of short breaks and then longer breaks. Do you think that will continue, or do you think people will be going back to the sort of one big holiday a year?
I personally think to begin with, it'll be the latter. So that one big trip, not necessarily just one, but I think, lower volume, but bigger trips potentially. So I think we might see an initial decrease in those, sort of popping to Europe for 3-4 days at a time, which, before this outbreak was such an easy and relatively inexpensive thing to do. I think probably in the short term, it will go back to that sort of, one big trip a year or so.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you both the same question, just to finish off on a light-hearted note. When this lockdown is over, could you each tell me which of Untold Story's amazing tours you want to go on, starting with Mark?
Well, for me, they are all so tempting, but I think for me, and probably relevant under the circumstances, is that we have a desert island castaway trip, which is a wonderful trip. You can choose your own island, which is in Tonga, in the Philippines, Panama, etc. You stay in a luxury hotel on your first night, then you're taken by fast boat to your island where there is no human contact. You spend the first 2 days with a survival specialist who will teach you how to forage, how to make fires, how to catch fish. And then after 2 days, we'll leave you, and you can either do that on your own, which I think I would probably do for the experience.
It's more self-isolation, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it is if you choose to, but you can do it with up to 8 people. So you can actually take 4 other couples and have that experience collectively without any worry about, safety, hygiene. Just the 8 of you on an island all by yourselves for 4 days. And then we pick you up again by boat, take you back to the hotel to sort of recover and reevaluate your experience, and then fly you home. But that's something that, that's something that I'd love to do at some point.
Right. And Chris?
Well, first, Mark, something tells me that we might need you to have Wi-Fi access during that trip, because we're hoping that we'll be inundated with inquiries by that point. But for me, I think, there's so many, but I think personally it would be our glacier party in Iceland. I think this period of sort of lockdown has really, it makes you want to reconnect with family. It makes you sort of really appreciate those people that are close to you. So, jetting off to Iceland, being taken off by helicopter to a remote glacier, bringing in a DJ from Reykjavik and sort of partying under the northern lights in, lovely heated tents. A real kind of celebration in an amazing kind of natural setting, a really sort of adventurous trip with the people that you're closest to and that you love. That really appeals to me. So that would be, I think, top of my growing list.
Wow, that's great. That's 2 very contrasting ideas there: a party on a glacier and a desert island retreat. Well, thank you very much for talking to me today. And it's really interesting to hear about Untold Story. Wish you all the best, both now at this difficult time and in the future.
Thank you, Laura. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Laura, and same to you.
Thank you.